The day I buried my husband was supposed to be the hardest day of my life. I was wrong. The hardest moment came 23 minutes before the funeral even started. The church was already filling with people, friends, business partners, neighbors, family members I hadn't seen in years. Everyone wore black, everyone spoke in whispers, and everyone looked at me with the same expression, pity. I stood near the front row, staring at the polished wooden casket. Inside was Michael, my husband of 26 years, the father of my children, the man who had promised to grow old beside me, the man who had died suddenly from a heart attack 3 days earlier. I hadn't slept since. Every time I closed my eyes, I remembered the call from the hospital, the doctor's voice, the silence afterward, the realization that my entire future had changed in a single night. I was exhausted, broken, barely holding myself together. Then the church doors opened, and everything changed. A woman walked in wearing a tight black dress, tall heels, perfect makeup, expensive jewelry. She wasn't crying, she wasn't sad. In fact, she was smiling. I had never seen her before. But the second our eyes met, I knew exactly who she was, because Michael had accidentally left his phone unlocked 6 months earlier, and I had seen the messages, the photographs, the late-night conversations, the heart emojis. The promises, the lies. Her name was Vanessa, Michael's mistress. For nearly 2 years I had confronted him. He had denied everything, then apologized, then begged, then promised it was over. Like a fool, I believed him. Apparently it wasn't over at all. Vanessa walked confidently down the aisle. People turned their heads. Whispers spread through the room. Some recognized her, most didn't. I watched her approach the front row, my seat. Without hesitation, she sat down directly beside the casket. In my place, the seat reserved for the wife, the widow, me. The entire church went silent. You could almost feel the shock moving through the room. My daughter Emily grabbed my arm. "Mom," her voice trembled. "Is that who I think it is?" I nodded. Emily's face turned red with anger. My son Daniel looked ready to explode, but before either of them could move, Vanessa crossed her legs and smiled. As if she belonged there, as if she had every right, as if she had won. And somehow, in that moment, I felt something strange, not sadness, not grief, not even anger, something colder, much colder. Because a woman doesn't walk into her lover's funeral and take the wife's seat unless she believes she's about to become the new queen. And that meant she thought she was getting something. Money, property, power, maybe all three. The question was, what exactly had Michael promised her, and how much trouble was about to begin? I didn't know yet, but before the day was over, the answer would leave the entire room speechless, including her. The funeral service began. The pastor spoke kindly about Michael, about his career, his generosity, his accomplishments. People nodded, some cried, others shared memories. I sat one row behind Vanessa, watching, waiting, studying every move she made. She wasn't grieving, not even a little. Every few minutes she checked her phone. Occasionally she glanced around the room, almost like she was searching for someone or expecting something. That bothered me a lot. Because real grief looks different. I've seen grief. I've lived grief. Grief doesn't sit comfortably in designer heels. Grief doesn't smirk during a funeral, and grief definitely doesn't act confident, unless you think you're about to inherit something valuable. The thought stayed in my mind throughout the service. By the time people started leaving for the cemetery, I was certain of one thing. Vanessa knew something I didn't. The burial itself passed in a blur. Flowers, prayers, tears, the sound of dirt hitting wood, the final goodbye. When it was over, family members gathered around me, offering condolences, sharing stories, trying to comfort me. Then I saw Vanessa standing under a tree nearby, watching, waiting. She wasn't speaking to anyone, just observing, like a hunter waiting for the right moment. Eventually she walked toward me. The crowd parted. People sensed trouble. I could see it in their faces. Vanessa stopped directly in front of me. For a second neither of us spoke. Then she smiled. "I just wanted to say I'm sorry for your loss." The nerve of that woman. I stared at her, trying to decide whether to laugh or scream. "My loss?" I said quietly. "Yes." Her smile never faded. "I know how much Michael meant to you." The words felt like poison. Emily stepped forward immediately. "Stay away from my mother." Vanessa looked at her, then back at me, and for the first time, I noticed something, confidence. absolute confidence. The kind of confidence people have when they believe they've already won. That bothered me more than anything else because she wasn't acting like a secret mistress. She was acting like a future owner. Before I could respond, she leaned slightly closer and whispered something that made my blood run cold. Michael wanted me taken care of. Then she walked away just like that. No explanation, no apology, nothing, only those 5 words. Michael wanted me taken care of. I stood frozen. Emily looked confused. Daniel looked furious. But inside my head, a storm had started because I suddenly remembered a conversation from 8 months earlier. Michael had mentioned updating his will. At the time, I didn't think much about it. We were married. Everything was shared. Why would I worry now? I wished I had asked more questions. That evening, after the funeral reception ended, I returned home. The house felt empty. Every room carried memories. Every corner reminded me of him. I should have been mourning. Instead, I was searching. File cabinets, desk drawers, office shelves, bank records, legal documents. Anything. Hours passed. Finally, I found a folder. Inside was a letter from an attorney. A meeting had been scheduled 6 months earlier. Will revision completed. My stomach tightened. The next page contained a date, 2 days after I discovered the affair, 2 days after Michael promised he would end everything, 2 days after he swore he wanted to save our marriage, and 2 days before he bought me flowers and apologized. I sat in silence, trying to understand. Had he changed the will because of her or because of me? There was only one way to find out. The official reading would happen in 3 days, and somehow, I had a feeling those 3 days were going to feel longer than the previous 26 years. 3 days later, everyone assembled inside the attorney's office. The atmosphere felt tense, heavy, uncomfortable, a storm waiting to break. I arrived with Emily and Daniel. Michael's brother Robert was there, his sister Linda, several business associates, and, of course, Vanessa. She wore white, not black, white, almost like she was attending a celebration. The sight made Emily furious. "Mom, how are you staying calm?" I looked at Vanessa, then answered honestly. "Because calm people see things angry people miss." Vanessa caught me looking and smiled again, that smile. I hated that smile, but not for long. The attorney entered precisely at 10 o'clock. His name was Richard Bennett. A serious man in his 60s, gray hair, sharp eyes, the kind of person who never wasted words. He sat at the head of the table, opened a folder, adjusted his glasses, and began, "Thank you all for coming." Everyone settled into silence. Richard explained the purpose of the meeting, reviewed legal procedures, confirmed identities, then finally opened the will. I noticed Vanessa straighten in her chair, her fingers tightened around her purse. She looked excited, actually excited. The attorney started reading. Several personal items were distributed first. Watches, artwork, collectibles, small investments, nothing unusual, nothing dramatic. Then came larger assets. Michael's brother received a vacation property. His sister received investment accounts. Business partners received shares in specific ventures. Everything seemed normal, predictable, orderly. Vanessa appeared confused. I noticed it immediately. She hadn't been mentioned once. Not even a small gift, not even a token amount. Her confidence started fading. The attorney continued reading, more assets, more distributions, still nothing. Vanessa shifted uncomfortably. For the first time, she looked nervous. Good. Very good. Then she finally interrupted. "Excuse me." The room turned toward her. Richard looked up. "Yes, I think you've missed something." Richard frowned. "I assure you I have not." Vanessa swallowed. "Michael promised." She stopped. Realizing she'd almost said too much, Richard remained calm. "Promised what?" Silence. The room suddenly felt very small. Every eye was now focused on her, and for the first time, the confident woman from the funeral looked scared. Very scared because the will wasn't unfolding the way she expected. Not even close. And the biggest surprise hadn't even been revealed yet. The attorney slowly turned another page, then looked directly at me, and what he said next would change everything.